A billion stars in each galaxy, and a billion galaxies. Astronomers picked the darkest little spot in the sky, a small patch 1/30th the diameter of the moon, and focused Hubble in on it. And what they found wasn't darkness at all. Every object you see here is a galaxy. The darkest little tiniest patch of the sky, and it's full of billions of galaxies. Wow. What that means to me is there's got to be trillions and trillions of planets with fleshed creatures of some kind where I could have the option to incarnate if I wish once I get out of this body. You got the same option. You know, if there wasn't a billion different heavens, let us say, everybody that died on the earth would be stuck here as a ghost waiting for another body to incarnate on. Heck, the whole world would be full of ghosts, and it's not. Just a few, mistaken people who got caught for a little bit, and a few hardy avatars, that stick around to try to help humanity out. But by and large, all of my relatives, when they died, came and said goodbye and took off like bandits. A billion different places to go, huh? If you want to get back in to the dense, heavy flesh we call these bodies, and enjoy the benefits of it all. Anyway, enough talk. This is Rollin Frost, Kona Astrologer, show 937. We're going to check out the third week in November for you, and I'd guess probably the singular biggest event is that Neptune is going stationary direct. It's stopping in the sky Saturday the 15th, 9:07 p.m. Yes. So trying to express the sky mirror graphically isn't easy. And this is a very oversimplified two-dimensional thing we're working with. But I tried to draw Neptune really large here, because it's going to be large in your consciousness. If you're on the Thursday show, well, this coming Saturday, Neptune's going to stop in the sky. When it does, Neptune permeates the consciousness. The two big giants of higher consciousness, Uranus and Neptune, the higher mind and the higher heart. Well, here's the higher heart. I call him priest, artist, doctor, musician, Neptune. He's beautiful, like beautiful fish. Swimming in schools, and the ocean, oh, it's lovely. I love the ocean. Like my wine, that's wine in there this week. And you'll find yourself, if it's drinking a little more, singing a little more, your sense of smell will go up. You can't miss that every time Neptune stops. Lots of times the Pope comes out and speaks. And the things about the drugs and the oil, and a lot of people will take this opportunity to be a little deceitful, shall we say, because Neptune has two sides, two little fish. One is a pickpocket, the other's Jesus. Anyway, the higher heart's a wonderful thing. Music. We're going to run the moon around the edge of this pattern. We've still got the Uranus squaring Pluto. And you notice Mars has just gone by Pluto. It's only 2 degrees off. It's right on Pluto when you're watching the show. So, there's Pele burning up some houses over there on the Big Island. But Mars hitting Pluto means possible uncontrollable fires and violence and anger. And, ask yourself what you're protecting. If you're angry and you're impatient and your Mars has gotten out of control, because that's what happens when Pluto gets involved. Pluto either controls things totally or not at all. So here's a bunch of soldiers got together with a bunch of policemen. I don't know what they're doing, but they're sure blocking Uranus here. Uranus is not happy. We also have the Saturn squaring Jupiter. So, the lawyers and the judges and the liberals and conservatives are locked up in a square. Square is like a big obstacle, can't move. So Let's take a look at it day by day. I'm going to run the moon around the edge of this planetary pattern, and as it moves around, it makes angles to all the different planets. The actors on the stage, that's who they are. There's Jupiter, the lawyer professor. The moon's going to go by Jupiter Friday morning early. You know, it squares the sun, so you won't get much done, but you could have some lightning bolts of truth flashing around, a tendency to laugh too much, clown around. At his worst, Jupiter's kind of a clown. At his best, he's a wonderful lawyer that straightens up the world in good order. But you'll feel him Friday morning. The moon's in Leo. As it goes by Jupiter, everybody's out to go do new things, you know. Usually, yeah. But don't be fooled, because Friday afternoon there's a square to Saturn, and everything slows down, and all that too much, too big, too expanded now becomes overly contracted, and shuts down, and stops, and runs out of money, and runs out of time. And there's Venus also. Venus is with Saturn, and so, you know, she's not feeling really good about sweets and sex and love, and the divas are having trouble. Somebody probably put them in jail for a while. Anyway, it's a what we call manic depressive Friday. Jupiter is manic, Saturn is depressive. So you're manic in the morning, depressed in the afternoon, and Venus will make you cry a little bit. So look out. And you're oversensitive. Why are you so oversensitive? Because Neptune is stationing. It's stationing and stopping on the 15th. The thing is, the moon is opposing Neptune. So we're not going to like Neptune very much when Neptune's reaching the peak of his power. You know, it turned out that the fish was bad and it had a bad smell. It turns out, you know, all these oil companies are just taking the last of the gas and oil out of our country. There'll be none for your children, grandchildren. No, they're just going to take it out and gobble it up. You'll realize that on Saturday morning. Sane countries like Canada and Venezuela and stuff have shut a lot of wells in. You know, they're no longer ready to sell the oil at this cheap price because they know as it runs out, the price goes up. So here you are with cheap oil right now. Something's wrong. Something's fishy. Anyway, Saturday morning the moon goes into Virgo, and when it hits that opposition to Neptune, yep, there'll be leaks, floods, spills, scandals. Oil companies, drug companies. Ask your doctor if Viagra is safe for you to use. Out of all the nasty things that Neptune has done, from the Spanish Inquisition on, in my life, here's Sanjay Gupta's statement, a doctor trying to be honest. We've been terribly and systematically misled for nearly 70 years in the United States, and I apologize for my role in that. He's talking about pot, throwing people who smoke pot, one of the best Neptune medicines around. They outlawed opium too, which was a wonderful painkiller. And but they're throwing people in jail even today, and they can't seem to get their Neptune ship straight, What's stopping politicians and people from acting in honesty about this? Good question, Frost. Well, some of those answers will come out Saturday night, because the moon's in Virgo, and late Saturday night it trines Mars, and then really early Sunday morning in Hawaiian time, that's about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, it trines Mars. But you'll feel this Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday morning. You'll feel Pluto is discovering new information, and Mars is there as a hero. And this is a good time to do some physical stuff if you plan it well. Watch out though, because Uranus is over here in square, and the electrical things might not be quite right. But it's the heroes are out. Sunday's a good time to fix stuff. Moon's in Virgo all day. Moon continues in Virgo into Monday the 17th, and at least the first half of the day. And when you get to the second half of the day, and just before lunch probably, depends on your location, the moon goes into Libra. And once it goes into Libra, it gets shaky, because here's the opposition to Uranus. And that eclipse at 15 degrees right next to Uranus, and the square to Pluto, it all happens early Tuesday morning. And I hope there's no sirens and emergencies in your life, but you'll have some little ones anyway. Big, huge cockroach flew into my bedroom and landed on my arm. Eek, a bug! So it's kind of panicky. That's what Pluto does. He sets off your reptile mind. Flight or fight, panic. It's panic attacks. Yeah. Everything from PTSD to claustrophobia to fear of spiders. I got arachnophobia. So, look, Tuesday morning, don't expect anything will act normal. And if you're going to use electricity, keep one hand in your pocket. And you'll get through it just fine. Tuesday night, the moon goes by the north node about 9-10 o'clock, and then everybody is feeling very nurturing, and it feels a lot better. Wednesday morning, moon's still in Libra on the 19th, and makes a nice sextile to Jupiter. There's wisdom, lightning bolts of truth. Aha, now I see it clear. Wednesday morning, the 19th. Thursday now, the moon's gone into Scorpio. And early Thursday morning, it trines Neptune. Here's your first good opportunity to get some goodies. Read Jesus. When Jesus says heaven in the New Testament, they took it out and changed it. It used to be sky in the Aramaic. He was talking astrology. A lot of astrology in the Bible. They couldn't take it all out. Anyway, Neptune, go out and sit under a tree. There'll be butterflies and colors and wonderful time to train up your compassion a little bit and feeling. You'll be more telepathic. Your sense of smell will operate wonderfully. Smell the flowers. Thursday morning, the 20th. Discovery happens in the afternoon. There's a sextile to Pluto. It's quite nice. Scorpio moon goes on, and Friday morning it makes a sextile to Mars, and so there's action and there's energy. Yeah, go for it. Get things fixed. And you know what? There's a nice new moon. Yeah, at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. That doesn't happen until late Friday night, but it's a nice new moon at about 1 degree of Sag. It does square Neptune, so it kind of shuts off the colors and the music and the opening of the heart chakras, so to speak. But Saturday, moon in Sagittarius, you're likely to have more leaks and spills and problems with bad smells in the morning as the moon squares Neptune. But as you get towards the evening, late in the evening, Saturday, early Sunday morning, there's a nice trine to Uranus. And the higher mind comes out. And there's information and common sense triumphs over belief. Uranus triumphs over Neptune. Wisdom, honesty comes out Sunday afternoon. Pretty good Sunday, late Sagittarius moon on the 23rd of November. And that's kind of the way it is in your next week. And here's a little commercial. Tell your friends about the show, huh? If they're not in Hawaii getting it on public access TV, get it on the internet, skymirrorastrology.com/TV. And the past shows are on there too. And I think a lot of them have been going on YouTube. Anyway, hey, there's my phone number. Area code 808-322-3584. Time to get your chart done. I'm not doing hand-drawn charts of Jeeps anymore. Nope. And I'm getting old. It's the truth of it. And the other day I mistakenly found either my death or my retirement 4 years up the road. So probably got 4 years left of doing this stuff. And I noticed that, 20 years ago I could do 2 charts, maybe 3 charts a day. Personal chart work really takes it out of you. Nowadays, 1 chart I do it. I'm lucky if I do it in 1 day. If I have time, I'll take a day and a half. So my productivity is going down because I won't sacrifice quality. But if you want to get some chart work done, you better get on it. Give me a call. 322-3584 in Kona. Oh, just a minute to talk about predictions. Boy, I nailed those 2 hurricanes, didn't I? like right to the day, aimed right at me too. And here's some of my old predictions. And you know, at October at the bottom, I turned it over, and there's one for November. It says floods in the third week. Wow. The last economy insecurity after 11/22. So November 22nd, there's going to be an insecurity with your bank's economy, all that stuff. I know it's happening in Europe, but here's floods in the third week. Something I did even before the year started. Anyway, enough on predictions. But geez, having two hurricanes aimed right at me and then both fluffing out at the last minute. Wow. And speaking of hurricane predictions, here was the first one. Right, hit Mauna Kea sploosh. Here's the second one, just went by. Now, the truth is there's a third one coming up in December. And I got notes from long ago here about it all. I even went back to see how many hurricanes hit Hawaii in December, because it seems kind of late. But, you know, here's a full moon on December 6th. And Uranus is on the descendant and Pluto on the IC. And this thing could have some destructive capabilities here. Now, this could also be Pele, I suppose. And people having to bail out could be going on still. Not sure. But here on January 5th, there's a full moon, and Uranus squares it. The rising's at 14 Cancer. So these things alone are enough. But Uranus stations here. The stationing is the important thing. When Uranus stations, oh boy, Uranus rules the intellect. It rules the winds, like Neptune rules the liquids in your body. Uranus rules the electrical impulses, the thoughts, and the media and the airplanes and all this motors and things. And when it stations, oh boy, things get shaky. Now this is the place where it's stationing originally happened in the middle of July 2013. You go back and look at what happened in the middle of July 17th, 2013, and guess what? It's going to happen again. Yeah, same place as far as this Uranus stuff goes. So, the station is on the 21st. It goes, you know, real strong then and comes up in a little normal distribution curve where, you know, you're dealing with almost 20 days here, and it gets stronger, and peaks out on the 21st and goes down. So, not going to be your normal Christmas in Hawaii. Sorry. I've even got a note for myself down here. Go over, October, I already did that carefully. And go over December and do the astrocartography. And I'll be talking about this more as we go along. Don't have much time left. I better do it. Well, as your first warning anyway. We're going to have another bad blow. And I'm not sure that this one is as harmless as the other two were. Although the other two sure scared the hell out of everybody when you saw the first, those paths they draw with, headed right smack towards the Big Island. And the second one right smack towards the Big Island right at my house. Woo! Those weathermen are scared me. So this could be pretty scary too, folks. So, don't let your preparation, don't put away all the stuff you already prepared. Well, looks like some astrocartography is in order. So I went through, had the computer set up all the full moons and new moons that might be pertinent here. And for some reason I went back to check the November 29th first quarter moon, which is just kind of coming up. And an interesting thing happened. Usually the first run through here, I just look at the world map and see if there's a bunch of lines running through Hawaii Nei. And sure enough, what's this? Neptune, huh? And a black line means that's not so good. Yeah, and I better check the chart here. So we got some Neptune. That's the liquids, huh? The Neptune line looks like it runs kind of through Maui into Honolulu. You're going to get a little more accurate feel for it. Okay, here's the way the thing looks in Hilo. We got 6 degrees Virgo rising. Now there's two problems. The moon here is at 7 and Neptune's at 450, call it 5. So we got about 2 degree spread between Neptune and the moon, and they are opposing the rising sign. Now this could be lost people. It squares the sun at the bottom of the chart at 6.5. The sun's at 7. And here's Mercury, communication, transportation. So we got a square here between the moon, Neptune, and the sun, Mercury, and it's loaded up in Hilo. We have 6 degrees. So what does it look like on the other islands? Let's see if we can pin this Neptune thing down. Where's the most spillage going to be? So there's Hilo. Here's Kona, 525. We start off at 616, and now we're down to, that pretty much splits the difference between the moon and Neptune. So Hilo could indeed get wet. Kona, same way, gets a little more Neptune, 525 and 450. If you go to, here's Kahului, Neptune is really close to opposing, so they might be more irritated with the water in Maui than we are here. Let's see, Honolulu, well, they're at 4 degrees, so Neptune's already 50 minutes above, so they're missing it a little bit. And the Mercury thing not quite so strong. Let's see, here's Lihue. Lihue's at 2, and boy, that catches the Mercury. Mercury's at 2 degrees here. So there could be problems getting around, communicating, transportating on Kauai due to that Neptune problem. But it doesn't seem like it's as personal, involves people so much over there. So what did that tell us? Did we localize this thing any? More disruption of the roads and the communication on Kauai. Now that could be a symptom of a tropical storm or a hurricane too. Here's the other. Now remember that Uranus stations on the 21st, and so it tends to be wind problems. And when you look for the Uranus thing, here on the December 6th full moon, we have Uranus issue. Here's Uranus. Uranus is the black line, and you can see it kind of curves up there through over the Kauai area is kind of in the sights again, isn't it? Now this is Pluto, the dotted line on the bottom, and look at that cross right there near Kauai and a little bit maybe Oahu some too. So here's another close call. The North Node is rising down by the Big Island, so we feel like we're nurtured, and it's the other people who need help. So I'm guessing that the Big Island again will be spared, and it's the northern parts of our chain that are gonna. Let's take a closer look, huh? Now I know because of the station on December 21st that Uranus is going to be the bad guy. So I'm taking this December 6th full moon real serious, because here's Uranus over here on the opposition side with the South Node. Eek, we need help. And this is opposing us, so it's either the other guys are getting thrashed by Uranus or we're afraid of Uranus. The thing I don't like, of course, is that here's Pluto down here squaring the whole mess. We got 12 degrees 40, 12 degrees 18. Well, let's take a closer look at each of the islands, okay? This is Hilo. Now we're at 1240, 14 to 1240 is where the real snap bang tension is, where stuff happens, especially in your home. Here we are in Hilo at 15. Let's go 1548. That gives us 3 degrees of separation between Uranus and the rising sign descendant. This line is like your skin. It's really sensitive. So here we are in Kona, and we're down to 15 degrees. So we've got, 2 degrees, 20 minutes of separation. Let's look at Kahului, 1423. So we're down to just less than 2 degrees here separation there. It's getting, Uranus, in other words, is getting closer up to this line is changing, huh? And if we look at Honolulu, there it is. Whoa, it's close. Here's Honolulu at 13:03, 13 degrees 3 minutes. Uranus is at 12:40. This is at 12:18. Honolulu is in the sights, huh? Yeah. Of course, here's Lahui. And when you go to Lahui, ooh, it changes over. And we now have Uranus on the angle. Now this 11:35 to 12:40 is 1 degree off. And of course down here, it's the Pluto is really close. So Lahui is in the sights of this real tight, where you could have one of these sudden panicky trips. Yeah. Finally, I want to look at the new moon, December 21st. That's when Uranus stops, is right on the new moon. There's Saturn opposing in Hilo. And, you know, Saturn is cold and problems with authority and stuff. It isn't necessarily a big, nasty thing. So I think we're not continuing. Now I know that new moon, December 21st, has got pure Uranus power. I'm looking for the spots where it's going to be trouble. What's that? There is Uranus right there on the descendant, and Pluto on the bottom of the chart. Where is it running? It's running up through there. Oh, that now, you can't tell about this one. This is probably isolation and Ebola. This is all the Ebola countries right in here. So you're going to see that on Christmas. They're going to lock the place down or something, or there's going to be soldiers all over. Other places where Uranus is going to be important, here it's on the bottom of the chart, and that's the dotted line. I don't know what could happen here on the tip of India. Over here, when you get a bunch of black lines, here's where it's making problems. Comes up through Mexico, right up through the center of the U.S. Quakes, maybe? I don't know. Down here, it could definitely be hurricane-like stuff. Well, definitely got water problems through December. That's a symptom. And the wind, well, it's going to come in just before Christmas. That new moon could have earthquakes in it, and tornadoes and hurricanes and all kind of neat stuff. And it looks like the wind is going to bother Honolulu and Kauai the most. Come on back next week. I got more to share with you then. Aloha. Yes, I hear you. Yeah. Done.
Joins us from Ottawa. David, I understand you have just arrived in Canada. What can you tell us?
One of the first things that you can't help but notice is that the capital city of Canada, Ottawa, at this hour, much of it still remains in lockdown. More than 9 hours out now after the shooting took place. Imagine Washington, D.C., the heart of Washington, D.C., essentially shut down for 9 hours after an incident. Well, that's what is happening here now. We've just received word that we expect later this hour that the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, is going to take to the airways and make some type of a statement. This following a very difficult day for so many Canadians. The timeline here, 9:52. That's when the gunman opened fire on a reserve soldier serving as an honor guard at the War Memorial. That soldier, a reservist identified as Nathan Cirillo, didn't have to be there, Kimberly. Interestingly, he had been asked if he would like this honor, and he jumped at the opportunity. This is a very special thing to be asked to serve as, and he did so, of course, with no anticipation that anything like this could happen. There are reports that he was shot at point-blank range by the gunman. Then, minutes later, the gunman made his way to the Parliament. That's just a few hundred yards away, and as we just heard, that's where the chaos ensued. The gunman began to open fire, according to one witness I talked to, firing as many as 40 rounds. One of those rounds hitting in the leg a security guard at the Parliament. The gunman continued to fire. He made his way throughout the building on a significant day here. This is caucus day. That means the building is packed with lawmakers. Coincidence or not, there were dozens and dozens of people, hundreds of people, lawmakers in the Parliament building expecting to do business as usual. The gunman made his way through the Parliament, and that's when things took a dramatic turn. The sergeant at arms, a largely ceremonial post, opened fire on the gunman. We understand that he was in his office when he heard the shooting take place, according to a witness. I understand that the sergeant at arms then, with some type of sidearm, left his office and was able to shoot the gunman. So the gunman at this hour, identified as we just heard as the judge, Michael Zahaf Bibo, we understand a recent convert to Islam. He had recently changed his name from Michael Joseph Hall. Local media reports say, Kimberly, that he had already been designated by Canadian officials as a high-risk traveler and that his passport had been confiscated. And lastly now, there were a number of injuries at the Parliament building, including, as I mentioned, that security guard. We just received word a short time ago that 3 people who were injured tonight were released from the hospital. But at this hour, on the minds of so many Canadians, the question, Kimberly, 10/22, is this a day that Canada, at least for many, is going to change forever? Back to you.
Sure is. David Lee, thank you so much for that update. And Canadian Parliament member John McKay was inside the Parliament building when the gunfire rang out, and he joins us now. Thank you for being with us. Take us through what you were experiencing when you first heard the shots fired.
Well, as your correspondent said, your caucus day on the hill, and so I was just going in my caucus, which is the floor below the incident occurred, and you heard this pop, 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 and I assumed it was construction, because there's a lot of construction going on the hill, until the security guard came racing down the hallway, just said, out, everybody out, and so, do what you're told, and so we were ushered out the back door quite quickly, and so then they kind of huddled out the back and didn't really know what was going on, and one of the construction workers said to us, well, if there are people in there shooting, it was probably wise if we got behind something. So we stood behind one of the monuments, and there's a woman, and she was crying, and another woman who was huddling, protecting her baby, and then we thought, well, not much point staying on the hill here, so we skirted the perimeter, eastern perimeter of the hill, and got off the parliamentary precinct, and then it kind of hit us with all the security that was out on Wellington Street, the main street in front of the Parliament building. So quite a day, and very dramatic.
Had you received any advanced briefings to expect heightened security or the threat level perhaps being raised, that anyone would think that you would be a direct target there at the Parliament, essentially the People's House, like we have here in the United States?
Yeah. No, nothing. And we have a relatively accessible Parliament, and I think that may be one of the victims of this day. We hold dearly our opportunity to interact with citizens, and legislators with citizens, and citizens with legislators. And I've been doing this for 17 years now, and never ever found out something a day like this, which is, I guess, it's going to change.
What measures would you recommend be taken in light of what happened today?
Well, I'd like to get my facts lined up before I make my conclusion. I think there will be a panoply of suggestions that are to be made. Certainly in 9/11, we've had heightened security on the Hill. when I started here, anybody could walk on it or drive on it, they know for that matter. And so there have been quite a number of measures implemented, probably some that are quite visible, some that are not nearly as visible. What needs to be done beyond that, I think that's left to others.
Well, I want to ask you because I know that you know the Sergeant of Arms, Mr. Vickers, who in fact was quite the hero today. You can probably only imagine, had he not been able to get that shot off and to lay down that suspect, how many other lives could have been lost today?
Well, Kevin is clearly a hero, and I just have nothing but admiration for him. He's a great man. But where the shooting took place is just literally outside of his office, and not within 50 feet of where that shooting took place. Both the government caucus and the official opposition caucus were meeting in separate rooms. And this, as your correspondent said, it could have been a very, very significant incident involving members of Parliament from all the parties.
You're right, just the proximity, the way you laid it out, it could have been much higher casualties. So thanks be to God that he was there and he acted so swiftly. Mr. McKay, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And the FBI and Canadian police working round the clock to determine if today's deadly violence was an act of terror. So what signs are they looking for? Terrorism expert Rollin Frost joins us. Rollin, so you've heard from our previous guests lay it out, eyewitnesses, people who were there, who heard the shots, and of course the heroic act from the Sergeant of Arms, Mr. Vickers, taking out that suspect. When you heard the reporting as well from Catherine Harridge about this individual being a recent convert to Islam, and then you also hear the terror attack that had been going on prior Tuesday. What do you make of it?
First of all, there are things really that we know and things we don't know much about. The things that we know are the big picture. The guests and other guests have been talking about sending instructions by ISIS, Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, to anybody who's either a member or a supporter to do two things. First, leading as much as possible the United States, its allies, and Canada is an ally on the one hand. And we saw what happened in Australia a few weeks ago. There was an attempt there to slaughter people on the ground. And then a more specific instruction by ISIS to now, as Catherine has said, target the military in the United States and other countries. What we don't know is the actual operation. Are the two cases, both are from Syria or both are from Canada, and are they connected? Is it somebody, a middleman, new person between ISIS and these people, or are they on their own, lone wolves acting that? We don't know.
Well, that's what people are wondering at home, right? Normally, the situation is inserted after the attack is someone that they had identified. Okay, so then they had a passport revoked, and someone they were suspicious of, had some intel on, so then was going to do something to act here at home. That's the real question, given what we know at this hour.
But here's the problem, the pool of individuals who are like Rouleau and Vivot, both in the United States and in Canada, is pretty big. People are radical, people who want to go to join in the past the Taliban and now ISIS. That's hundreds of those. How are we able, how are we going to be...
Time you want to go see Dr. Tanaka. I'm arranging a ride for you now.
What we have right now is the possibility that any member of that pool of people who have been indoctrinated and radicalized could take action without being organized with the mothership back in Syria and Iraq.
Yeah, that is the problem, because when you look at these, lone wolf actors, people that perhaps have been by themselves self-radicalized just by reading, and there's a lot of information out there on the internet, ISIS being incredibly capable of getting their social media message out there. Anyone, down the street could be inspired to act on their own.
Yes, indeed. The problem now is this. There are things that our laws and liberal democracies won't allow us to do. The fight of ideas. Who believes in the caliphate, who doesn't believe. But the link between that and action is something that we should be doing much better. Meaning, who is actually convinced that he or she wants to act should be in a smaller pool of people who are active. And that's I think, what the United States, Canada, and their allies across the Atlantic would want to be doing so.
And that's the challenge for counterintelligence, of course, even as they are looking at this case to figure it out on this evening. All right, Wally, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
And we are staying on top of the breaking news in Canada. We're going to take you back live to Ottawa, but first, Are U.S. lawmakers worried that a similar attack could happen on our capital? Congressman Jason Chaffetz is here next. Plus, how did police track down 3 American teens allegedly trying to join ISIS? You have to see the clues they left behind on social media. And new information about the Ferguson, Missouri police shooting, the one that sparked weeks of riots. Could the new details change everything? That's coming up.
On the Record is brought to you by Ameriprise Financial. More within reach.
Ameriprise asks people simple questions. In retirement, will you have enough money to live life on your terms? With healthcare costs, who knows? Everyone has retirement questions, so Ameriprise created the exclusive Confident Retirement approach. Now you and your Ameriprise advisor can get the real answers you need. Start building your confident retirement today.
You wouldn't ignore signs of damage in your home. Are you sure you're not ignoring them in your body? Even if you're treating your Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, an occasional flare may be a sign of damaging inflammation. And if you ignore the signs, the more debilitating your symptoms could become. Learn more about the role damaging inflammation may be playing in your symptoms with the expert advice tool at Crohn'sandColitis.com. And then speak to the gastroenterologist.
Venice, Norway, Santorini. What began on the great rivers now reaches across the seas. Immersive experiences, majestic destinations, journeys for the explorer in awe. Sailed to ports of a ship designed for discovery and delight. Yes, it's what an ocean voyage should be. Viking Ocean Cruises, exploring the world in comfort.
Now, if you have a question about meds, you can speak to a nurse right away. Or if you're injured, get advice from a doctor within minutes. Maybe your grandson fell. 5-star agents are at your fingertips to dispatch emergency services. Only the new Jitterbug with a 5-star button can help in all these situations. More than a cell phone, it's a network of health and safety experts who will get you the help you need.
Now at Rite Aid, Walmart, and other retailers.
Fox News Channel is on Sirius XM. Listen live on channel 114 now.
For all your business news and information, find Fox Business Network in your area.
Maybe it's the new lightweight anti-vibration system of the Mariana BL85 she likes. Maybe it's the comfort of the thing had its straps. Maybe the unadulterated thrust of 900 CFM throbbing through the big tornado tip. Oh no, it's just the power. Smash it. Marry up the power outdoor power since 1895.
My guys are passionate about delivering furniture. I love delivering furniture.
Furniture delivery is my life.
I love it. They love it.
I love delivering local furniture.
And when you love something that much,
It's the best.
people notice.
They're super happy to celebrate our work, our strength, and our looks.
And they tell us.
Furniture delivery. What's my veins?
Holoco Furniture, where delivery's always been free.
Anywhere on the island.
Check out our website, holocofurniture.com, right here.
All right.
This is a Fox News alert. We're going to take it to the Fox News deck where Shepard Smith is standing by. Shep.
Thanks very much. We've just gotten word from the White House that someone has jumped the White House fence yet again tonight. It just happened on the north lawn at the White House. You see where the reporters stand every day doing their live reports with the White House behind them. That's the fence that was jumped. So as you look at this live picture, it's to the right in the near ground. At any rate, somebody jumped the fence. There are a lot of Secret Service and uniformed police on the lawn now. Secret Service they caught this person and walked the person through the northwest gate on our live camera. The person was in handcuffs at the time. Now, does this happen from time to time? It does. But given the attack in Canada today, or whatever it was that happened in Ottawa with the shooting that happened there at the War Memorial, and then more shootings at the Parliament's buildings, we wanted to bring you this. We expect we'll have pictures in just a couple of minutes of this latest White House fence jumper. Is there anything to indicate this jumper is connected to anything that happened in Canada? Absolutely not. But today, just moments ago, there was a jumper at the White House. went over the fence into the north lawn. Security got him out of there in handcuffs. We may have pictures, and if we get them, we'll bring them to you. We hope for context as well. For now, back to Greta.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, we'll bring you updates as they develop. And in the meantime, terrifying news out of Canada today. Canadian Parliament members forced to run for their lives as dozens of gunshots are fired right in the middle of the Parliament building. So would members of our Congress be prepared if our Capitol came under attack? Congressman Jason Chaffetz joins us. Pleasure to have you here, Congressman, and also, of course, a member of the Homeland Security Committee. You know, just a harrowing experience today. What's your takeaway from what happened in Canada, and are we prepared, God forbid, if there was an attack like this in our capital?
Well, first of all, Godspeed to those men and women who are on the front lines who deal with this. There's some that run to the sound of the guns, and those people, they do an amazing job. They do it at our capital. They did it in Canada. You saw that place was smothered rather quickly. And God bless them. But at the United States Capitol, it's one of the most highly targeted terrorist facilities in the world, as is the White House. You got a jumper. I just saw that story for the first moments as you just played it. These attacks, they're out there. And the men and women who perform the intelligence to try to prevent them, and then the men and women who actually have to respond to those with dogs and other assets, they just got to smother this as quickly as possible. So it's something we've been dealing with for a long period of time, but when you see, an honor guard killed, murdered, you got to start with the idea that this is terrorism, not just, hey, let's downplay this. You got to think, is this part of a bigger, broader terrorist effort? And we're in a fight, and we got to win this fight.
Yeah, you have to do the investigation, get the counterintelligence,
Yep.
and also look very carefully at what preceded this, what kind of threat levels, what kind of chatter was going on, and of course we did have that direct encouragement that was going on from ISIS saying to target military and government offices. Now again, we don't know whether or not this person was radicalized. We know they're a recent convert to Islam, but this is just bringing into play the larger question in the picture, which is we do have to be hyper-vigilant about our security, while at the same time maintaining the balance for people's privacy. That's the problem that we face in this country. I mean, you know best, being on the committee.
Well, look, you can't live your life in fear, and we can't give up every liberty in the name of security. But at the same time, when we know there's a threat, there's a clear and present danger to the United States of America, then you go take out that threat. We can't be so politically correct as to say, well, let's not just pretend that, this particular thing, just smooth that over. No, you can't be talking about workplace violence when clearly it's terrorism. Let's get real about it and get aggressive about it. And people need to know, for instance, in the fence jumping, I've spent a lot of time looking at the Secret Service, and most every one of those men and women do awesome work.
Very good.
But when somebody does jump the fence, they need to know that they're going to be taken down. And those men and women who are there, they can't hesitate. They need to know we've got their back, that nobody gets to the president, nobody gets in the White House, nobody gets into that Canadian Parliament. If that's the message we continue to send, then I think they'll think twice about making those types of attempts.
All right, and I'm sure when you return to the Capitol, you'll be getting a number of briefings about this and seeing in the next coming days what this exactly was and who's responsible and behind it. Congressman, always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And did we just witness a terror attack? That is the question tonight, right across our border. The FBI helping Canadian police to determine if today's shooting spree was terrorism. A live report from Canada next.
Patented sonic technology with up to 27% more brush movements. Get healthier gums in 2 weeks. Innovation in you. Philips Sonicare. Save when you give Philips Sonicare this holiday season.
We spend 90% of our lives begging for money and begging for votes. In order to hold on to jobs that are 90% begging for money and begging for votes. What's wrong with this picture?
Weeknights, Kelly brings the heat.
It's a back and forth. I'm not just going to give you a platform for a soliloquy. Don't come on here and spit.
Powerful, inciting, fair, and balanced. Megyn Kelly taking prime time to the next degree.
Join me for the Kelly File, weekly at 9.
What can your Fidelity Green Line do for you? Just take a closer look. It works how you want to work. With a Fidelity Investment Professionals, or managing your investments on your own.
helping you find new ways to plan for retirement and save on taxes where you can, so you can invest in the life that you want today. Tap into the full power of your Fidelity Green Line. Call or come in today for a free one-on-one review.
Introducing Joel Osteen Radio, exclusively on Sirius XM.
We can live in victory every single day.
Tune in for motivation 24/7. Hear weekly services and special event broadcasts. And for the first time ever, you can call into Pastor Joel and Victoria Osteen for personal guidance.
There is a power in you greater than any power that comes against you.
Subscribe today for as little as $5.99 a month for the ultimate entertainment. And now, the ultimate inspiration. Join me here on Sirius XM.
We're almost there. If your bladder is calling the shots, you may have a medical condition called overactive bladder, or OAB.
Again? But we just went.
Ask your doctor about mirabegron, to treat the OAB symptoms of urgency, frequency, and leakage.
Seriously? It's time to go to the doctor.
Myrbetriq is the first and only medicine in its class for OAB.
Myrbetriq may increase your blood pressure. Myrbetriq may increase your chances of not being able to empty your bladder. Tell your doctor right away if you have trouble emptying your bladder or have a weak urine stream. Myrbetriq may affect or be affected by other medications. So tell your doctor about all the medicines you take. Before taking Myrbetriq, tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. Common side effects include increased blood pressure, common symptoms, urinary tract infection, and
If your overactive bladder is calling the shots, ask your doctor about Myrbetriq. Visit mybladder.com to see if you're eligible for a year's worth of savings on Myrbetriq.
The balance of power is on the line. Only Fox News Channel covers it fair and balanced, breaking down every candidate, reporting on every campaign. When the balance of power is on the line, the only team to trust is on America's election headquarters.
Getterman Group is growing.
Getting in a groove.
Growth is gratifying.
Goal is to grow.
Gotta get greater growth. I just talked to Yes. They've got expert advice, special discounts, new technologies, like smart pickups. They'll only show up when you print a label, and it's automatic. They save time and money.
Time? Money?
Time and money.
Awesome. 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 I love logistics.
This is a Fox News alert. We now have video from outside the White House where another person has jumped the fence. The jumper scaled the north lawn fence and can be seen kicking a dog. The jumper was then stopped and subdued on the lawn. Secret Service swarming the suspect, who was taken away in handcuffs. We will bring you more of this breaking news as we get it. This is a Fox News alert. The capital of Canada on lockdown tonight. Canadian police desperately trying to determine if a deadly shooting spree in Ottawa was the work of terrorists. Today, a gunman shooting a Canadian soldier to death at the National War Memorial. The gunman then running into the Parliament building where dozens of shots rang out and members of Parliament ran for their lives. Here is a minute-by-minute look at how the chaos unfolded. We're back, and we've got some breaking news coming from the Parliament in Canada, where there is a reported shooting. The reports are that shots have been fired, that one soldier is down on duty near the War Memorial, which I believe you're looking at right now, which is a 5-minute walk between these two buildings.
I heard a bunch of flops. I thought it was just crackers going off, so I look across the street and there's a man with a rifle shooting at a bunch of people.
Police do confirm that there are multiple shooting locations in Ottawa right now, but the shooter who entered the House of Parliament is dead.
That Sergeant of Arms there getting a lot of praise. The former officer himself apparently shooting the suspect in Parliament and taking him down.
Saw a woman who took out her. She was crying. Her kids were inside. We're still inside, I guess.
The victim of the shooting is a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. His injuries were fatal.
Guy came from the side on my left-hand side and came out with a rifle and shot at the man, and then the guy went falling down, and everybody was just in shock.
So the first patient went in 10:20 a.m. That patient's deceased, and that was the suspect in this case. Then they got 3 more patients. One 17 minutes later, one an hour and a half later, and one 45 minutes after that.
very latest on what is going on in Canada right now. The Globe and Mail's Bill Curry joins us live. Bill, thanks for being on the program tonight. And I understand you have some new developments, new information regarding the suspect and another individual.
Yes, well, we have learned in the last couple hours that Michael Bibeau is the name that's circulating in terms of who the shooter is. Sources are telling the Globe that this person was on a watch list. Security officials were concerned about this person. Just as we had a shooter in Canada just on Monday who attacked a couple of Canadian Forces members with his car, killing one, is also on the list. So we'd heard about this list recently in the last couple of weeks about a list of about 90 individuals who were being watched by the Canadian government for potential radicalization, and so far 2 of them have acted after being watched by authorities.
Okay, so 2 of these individuals, passports revoked, were in communication. Do we know how often they were in communication, like the frequency, or whether or not they had any prior relationship? Like, what's the nexus between the 2?
I don't know if they've been in communication. We've got other officials or other reporters working on that particular angle, so I haven't been able to confirm that. Focus more here on what's going on the ground. We just had the security level for downtown Ottawa upgraded again, so this is not going away. They just told us just within the last 20 minutes or so that they've increased the lockdown on downtown buildings, like the one I'm at right now, just 2 blocks south of Parliament Hill. So there's still obviously something going on downtown that's of serious concern to the police.
Do we know if there is still an ongoing manhunt at this hour? Hence the reason for the lockdown.
They've never actually said that. We've had a few briefings from the police today. They've talked about things like it being a fluid environment, and the investigation is ongoing. But they've never come out and said they definitely think that there's another shooter involved. But obviously with one dead, and this lockdown continuing on Parliament Hill and the buildings around Parliament Hill, obviously they are not confident.
Okay, we have to be very vigilant to make sure that the perimeter and the scene is secure and there aren't any other suspects out there. But you were on scene very quickly after this shooting happened. You were able to speak with eyewitnesses. What can you tell us? Some of them had a visual of the shooter. What did he look like?
Well, they describe kind of a short man with long, dark hair, which does fit the images that have been circulating today after the suspect was identified. So, man with long, dark hair. So the War Memorial is just kind of southeast of Parliament Hill, kind of across the street. It's not protected by any security perimeter at all, but there are kind of ceremonial guards who man it's called the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, sits there in front of the cenotaph, and they're there during 9 to 5, April to November. And so witnesses saw this man arrive with a shotgun, fired 4 shots, and the victim went down immediately. I saw him when I got on the scene. Ambulance took him away, and a couple hours later he was declared dead. From what we can piece together, witnesses saw the shooter immediately then run in the direction of Parliament Hill. And then other witnesses picking up from that scene, it appears that he might have hijacked a car that was on the premises, drove up to the front of the Parliament buildings. It's a little unclear as to how he actually got in the building, but then once inside, people heard shots that were louder than the other shots they would hear. It sounds like the shotgun from the shooter went off first. Yeah, and then we actually have video of this. My colleague Josh Wingrove shot a video, so you can see big hallway. Yeah, people climbing, kind of working their way towards the shooter at the end of the hall, which is where the library is for the Parliament.
So, Bill, obviously you guys were right on scene right away with incredible information, and we'll be checking back with you as this story develops. Thank you for being with us tonight. And straight ahead, 3 American teenage girls caught. They were apparently trying to join ISIS. But wait till you see the clues they left behind on social media. That's next. Plus, more on today's breaking news. Part of Canada's capital still on lockdown tonight. And we are still waiting to find out if there are more suspects on the loose as the manhunt continues. An update on the shooting investigation coming up.
What sorts of things are keeping you guys awake at night?
Am I saving enough? Will I be able to save enough before retirement?
My life expectancy now is 24 years. My money expectancy is about 15 years.
I don't want to get to the end of the road and not have any money in the bank.
An advisor can really help you look at the whole picture.
We both had gotten way overweight,
It just didn't feel like ourselves anymore.
but now we're on top of the world.
And now, with Fast 5 from Nutrisystem, you can lose weight fast. Lose 5 pounds in your first week or your money back guaranteed.
We saw results the very first week. Now all our friends want to know our secret.
The results are so motivating.
And all the compliments kept me smiling.
Together we lost.
80 pounds with Nutrisystem.
Now we feel like ourselves again.
Order your 28-day My Weight plan right now, including Fast 5. Get 1 week of specially selected meals, plus 1 week of energizing shakes to rev your metabolism free, and 1 week of Craving Crusher shakes to crush those cravings free.
I never thought I'd look or feel this good again.
I really love her new vibe.
You know.